Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. My name is Kenneth Oliver, and I am the Regional Admissions Manager for the great state of Texas. I joined Cal Poly about maybe 7 months ago, back in August, where I came from University of Massachusetts. I chose to work for Cal Poly for one main reason, and that reason is it gives me the great opportunity to connect fantastic students with a fantastic university. So welcome to our Texas Accepted Students reception. I want to welcome all the admitted students, their parents, supporters, our panelists as well. Thank you all so much for joining us. First, I want to say a great big congratulations to all admitted students. You have worked very hard and your work has paid off. We are a very selective university and you are among an esteemed few. Also, congrats to all the parents and supporters, as this is also your accomplishment. I just want to give a quick reminder about Zoom. Please mute yourselves to avoid any background noise. Also, you can turn off your cameras if you like, but I love seeing all of your beautiful faces, so feel free to keep them on. Also, keep in mind that campus resources are uploaded in the chat, so feel free to download anything you'd like. Any of those files are all for you. First, I want to acknowledge that we are living in unprecedented times. We realize that your lives have been turned upside down because of COVID-19. So I do want to thank you all so very much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us today virtually, as we realize that your health and safety comes first. As such, we've decided to do our Texas receptions virtually. As I look out and see your beautiful faces and I see you sitting in your homes, my heart breaks for you. This is your moment, a moment where we wanted to celebrate and dote on your many accomplishments. We wanted to meet you and your families and fellowship with you and let you know just how much we value you. Although we're not able to meet in person at this time, we still want to give students and families the opportunity to learn more about Cal Poly and to get questions and concerns addressed. You probably applied because you see the strength of the Cal Poly education and the value of starting classes in your major day one. Now you're probably considering, what is it really like? What does it really mean to spend the next few years of your life with us? And what does a Cal Poly degree help you achieve? We also have a few Cal Poly proud individuals here with us today who will help you to answer some of those questions. And they'll have a chance to speak with you about their ties to Cal Poly and their unique experiences. As a refresher, Cal Poly is in a centralized location right in the middle of Los Angeles and San Francisco. We're 10 minutes from several beaches, and it really is like going to school in paradise. It is a college town wherein half of its population is made up of college students. It is a vibrant town and a perfect place to go to school. As you can see behind me, our students are basically educated in paradise, like I said. Here's a sneak peek of where you could call home for the next few years.
How you start each new day says a lot about you. At Cal Poly, we begin as we always have, by putting knowledge into action. We call it learn by doing. And for more than a century, we've made this idea the center of everything we do. We believe that experience is part of the curriculum. We don't see any difference between education and the real world. We know that it's the best way to learn and keep learning for the rest of our lives. So when we begin our day, we dive right in, head first and hands on, because we're not satisfied to sit on the sidelines of our own education. And we know that if we want to make an impact on our world tomorrow, we have to put in the work today. If at first we don't succeed, we rework, rearrange, reimagine, redesign, rethink, rebuild, and refuse to give up. Because our state, our nation, and our world need us to be ready from day one, to take what we learn by doing and use it to help build a brighter future. How you start each day says a lot about you. How you spend your day says even more about how you'll start your career and how you'll live your life. Because it's one thing to be ready one day, and it's quite another to be ready day one.
That's another great thing that I love about Cal Poly. Our students are ready day one, and our philosophy is learn by doing. And what that means in so many ways, one of the things I always say, you hear a lot of students on other college campuses saying, when I get out of school, when I get out of college, when I graduate, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make a great impact. Well, our students start making an impact on society day one. Now I would like to introduce our first keynote speaker, Keith Humphrey. Keith is the Vice President of Student Affairs and will be sharing some thoughts with you about Cal Poly and what makes it a unique university. Take it away, Keith.
We have a team that's really, really, truly committed to the needs of our students. On an annual basis, they see over 33,000 medical visits. We have physicians, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, registered nurses, psychiatrists, medical assistants, labs, pharmacists, all sorts of individuals who are able to help support all of the medical needs that they have, that our community has. And we are dedicated to making sure we're keeping our students physically well, as well as we're dedicated to keeping our team emotionally well. We know that this is a challenging time, and so all 20 of our counselors who come to campus every day are set up in situations just like this, like you and I are right now, and they are holding virtual one-on-one counseling sessions for all of our students all around the country or the world, wherever they are, to help make sure that we're staying both healthy and well in here and here and in here, because we need to take care of our entire aspect of our well-being to make sure we're successful in the classroom. There's so much more there, and I know there'll be many, many questions about what we do to support our community, specifically as we're looking at our response to the coronavirus. We stay in close contact, with San Luis Obispo County Public Health, where I think we're very fortunate to be in a small community where we have tight relationships and smaller populations to serve. And that allows all of us in moments of crisis like this to bring our resources together. We're making sure that every person that needs to has the ability to test. We have the ability to test our students directly on campus. We've sent many of them home and asked them to go home so that they can be in places of safety with their families. And we're really appreciative that they're doing that, but we're also always able to support every student that's here. In moments like these, even though the university is operating virtually, that health center and the staff that run the health center and care for our students are there physically every day, no matter what comes up for our students that remain in San Luis Obispo. We do a lot more to help you be successful outside the classroom than just taking your temperature and helping you navigate coughs, colds, and flus and whatever else happens. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about that. One of our main focuses is making sure that our students are day one ready outside the classroom, that they are ready to be leaders in the field and match all of that amazing educational experience that you get from the faculty members and pair it with on-the-job leadership experience. Our career services team has a freshman focused team of counselors, so every one of you will have the ability to connect right away with a career counselor and start to build that 4-year plan for career development, internships, externships, all sorts of learning opportunities outside the classroom, so that when you have finished your curriculum, you're also ready to step right into a leadership position in your career. And I think that that's really why we see such high numbers of students deeply engaged in their careers right from graduation, and 80% of them, and this is a great statistic that parents love, 80% of them have jobs before they reach their graduation day, and 99% of them have jobs or are in graduate school within 6 months of graduation. And so that really speaks not only to how strong our students are in the classroom, but what they're doing outside of the classroom. We also want to make sure that our students have strong sense of belonging, that every person that walks on our campus, visits our campus, studies, learns, and lives together has a strong sense of belonging. So we provide experiences based on identity, based on your desire to grow in your leadership, based on your desire to grow in your contributions to society through service learning. Our cross-cultural centers are doing amazing work to ensure that all of our students feel welcome and safe on our campus community, and they are also helping our folks who don't hold underrepresented identities know the importance of the work and why every one of us needs to step up and contribute to a healthy campus climate. We do build community strongly through university housing, and we know that all of our first-year students live on campus in living learning communities through their major or their personal out-of-class interest or other affiliations and identities. We bring a lot of the services right in to the residence halls, from counseling and academic support and faculty office hours. And on the screen, you're getting a look at one of our newest residential communities that we just opened 2 years ago, Yaqui Tutu. All of our buildings there are named after the Northern Chumash, the first people of San Luis Obispo County. And Yaqui Tutu is a word that means community. So that's really at the center of what we do. Other things that we do to make sure our students stay engaged are really to promote their social and civic engagement opportunities. I mentioned service learning. Over half of our students engage in service learning in some way, shape, or form, whether that's our partnership with what we bring to many of the classes for service learning paired with your academic curriculum, to just going out and being of service to the community that provides so much for our student body. And our students are even finding out how to do that virtually right now. They're always finding ways to contribute. We have a Center for Leadership for students because we know that every single one of our students needs to have the quality leadership skills to match the quality academic experience. And so every one of you has the opportunity to participate in a number of leadership series certificate opportunities if you're not in a formal leadership opportunity, so that you can say to a future employer, I know how to lead a group of people. And we know that this is one of the reasons why Cal Poly students and Cal Poly alumni, and you'll get to meet some of our amazing alumni, why they advance in their organizations faster than others. We have a strong student government that looks forward to welcoming you when you show up on campus for Slow Days, our summer orientation program, as well as our world famous Week of Welcome. And so before I say too much, I will just finish by letting you know that, our approach is really about supporting you. It is about supporting you as an individual. We like to pride ourselves on what we would call our high touch, personalized experience that we provide all of our students outside the classroom. We are a large university, but a place where I really truly think we excel is making this larger community feel small, and making sure that every student that exists, walks, and learns in our community feels welcome, valued, and cared for. So thank you again for joining us today. I really appreciate your time and congratulate you on your admissions, and I will stick with you for the rest of this time to answer a lot of specific questions that you may have at the end. I'll turn it back to Kenneth.
All right, thank you so much, Keith. I really love what he touched on there in terms of speaking on community. It's one of the reasons why I love going back to campus and speaking to students, is because the one thing that is apparent is that there are resources and support that is there for you while you're a student to aid in your success while as a student, as well as after you graduate. I think that's very important for a university. I'm going to move on to Grace Lauer, who is a third-year architecture student.
Hi.
Hi, Grace. And yeah, feel free to share your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. So as Kenneth said, my name is Grace Lauer. I'm a third-year architecture major. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm from Edina, Minnesota. So I totally understand the out-of-state perspective. I am currently a Poly rep on campus. So I am an official on-campus ambassador, which comes in a lot of different facets on the university. We our goal is to connect past, present, and future students. So alumni, prospective students, and we do that a lot through tours. Obviously, there are no tours going on right now. I'm actually on a board currently in order to help kind of kickstart our virtual tours. Normally, I'd be walking around campus right now giving tours, so it's kind of a different way to think about Cal Poly, but it's definitely a good challenge to take on. I'm still in San Luis Obispo. My sister is currently a sophomore in high school, so I totally understand what you're going through. But yeah, I'm here to offer a little bit of my perspective as a current student. Currently, it's semi-cloudy. I'm looking out my window right now, and it's beautiful. I hiked Madonna yesterday, so we're getting out into slow. It's beautiful here right now. It's pretty quiet, not gonna lie, but it's not bad. Being in such beautiful weather during quarantine, I have a pretty good backyard, so that's pretty good. But when I'm on campus, my life looks so busy and crazy and amazing, and I love it. Being architecture too, definitely learned by doing, roots itself so deeply in my major. Coming in as a freshman, I knew 2 people coming into Cal Poly, and on a campus of over 20,000 people, that's kind of crazy. I was definitely the farthest way of my friend group from Minnesota. We were pretty close knit, and I was like, I'm gonna go against the grain and go all the way out to California, and I've loved every second since that decision. I can't imagine making a college decision virtually. That'd be very difficult. I know that a lot of my decisions were made by doing campus tours and campus visits, and genuinely attempting to like picture myself at a university. It was actually pouring rain the entire weekend that I was at Cal Poly when I toured, which, knowing San Luis Obispo now, that's so rare. And me and my mom had brought swimsuits, and we're so excited to go to the beach, and it was just pouring rain, and we had to go to the gas station and buy like plastic ponchos to even take tours. But I knew that if I loved it when it was pouring rain, I would love it 10 times more when it was 75 and sunny, which a majority of the time it is at Cal Poly. Yeah, so coming in as a freshman, you're going to be in a living learning community, as Keith was kind of talking about. And so our housing is really cool and very different. You aren't necessarily picking a building that appeals to you, but rather a community that you can see yourself being involved in. I was in an academically centered environment learning community, so we had a lot of study groups, we had tutors come into our dorm all the time. I lived in the red bricks, so it's kind of a very typical dorm layout. I had one roommate, Claire. She was from Minnesota too. And we found each other on Facebook, and once we got accepted into Cal Poly, we both, once we had accepted, we like paired with each other on the housing application and were able to pick the community that we wanted to be in. And then they put us in whatever building that learning community corresponded with for that year. So if you were taking a housing tour at Cal Poly, you'd be looking at all of these different buildings, and instead of seeing Yaki Tutu or the red bricks or the towers and being like, oh, I want to live there, you're going to pick the travel learning community or the cooking learning community or the engineering learning community. So you can be in very different atmospheres than your major, or you can be really ingrained in your major if you choose to. But I learned so much by being in a learning community that wasn't necessarily my major. I spend so much time with architecture people now, and I love them. But some of my closest friends I gained out of that learning community. So when it comes to Week of Welcome, our orientation program, I was an orientation leader as a second year, and I loved it so much. And I have some friends on orientation board right now, and they're still grinding away. They're trying their hardest to make this orientation the best possible. And so being a part of that as well has definitely given me a really cool perspective when it comes to being a leader with orientation. So during orientation, you're going to be in a WOW group. You're going to be called WOWies. And your leaders will not only become mentors for you, but also really good friends. My WOW leader, Megan, when I was a freshman, actually became my big in my sorority. I talk to her almost every single day. She's currently in Hawaii, so I'm quite jealous of her. But she really helped me adjust into and acclimate into my life here at Cal Poly, and kind of helped me gain the confidence of making SLO my home. Obviously, being from out of state is a very intimidating thing, but making SLO and Cal Poly your home is definitely the goal with orientation. They're going to take you to Morro Bay to go kayaking. You're going to go paintballing over by the Army base. You're going to go downtown and get Woodstock's pizza, and you're going to go to SLO Doco and get coffee and find all the cool coffee shops. And so it's not just about being a Cal Poly student, but being a resident of SLO and integrating you into our community here. Now, as a third year, oh my gosh, I feel so old saying that. I'm in a 5th year program, so I'll be here forever, but I'm actually really excited about that because I actually get to go abroad my entire 4th year. So while our motto is learn by doing, our study abroad motto is learn by going. A majority of students who study abroad have been brought back to Cal Poly, but they're still in their programs virtually, which I think is really cool. My friend Lindsay was in Prague and she is in quarantine in Agora Hills right now. But she's still getting virtual tours of all of the museums she was supposed to go to with her program. My friend Allie was in Florence for architecture actually. And so she is taking drawing classes still through virtual like Zoom and everything, which is super awesome. But me personally, I am doing a co-op in the fall with a firm back in Minneapolis. And so I get to have hands-on experience, I get to get paid as an intern, and I get to have class credit, which is super cool. So all of that will like come back to Cal Poly and give me hands-on experience for once I'm out in the field. Definitely learn by doing, definitely ready day one, all of that experience I'm getting through my major. And then second semester, I'll be in Berlin, which I'm super stoked on. I've never been to Europe and learning architecture in that way will be super cool. I have a lot of German ancestors, so learning German is going to be quite a challenge, but it will be great. But my typical life on campus day to day, I'm in class probably 4 hours a day, which really isn't that bad. And then the other time I'm going to be in the library studying, or I'll be in studio. That's more specifically for architecture students. But you'll have study groups, you'll be able to go to tutoring sessions, you'll hang out with your friends, you'll get food on campus, you'll walk to the closest coffee shops, you'll go hiking. If you have like an hour break, you'll just hike up to the P. And your life in SLO will be so busy, but so wonderful. And I'm so excited for you to be admitted into Cal Poly is such a great feat. And I'm so excited for the potential that you have at this university. If you have any more questions, I'm going to stay on the chat as well. I can definitely speak to what it's like to be a student right now at Cal Poly, as it is changing every single day. But obviously I love it, and I think it's honestly the best decision I've ever made. So thanks for listening. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much, Grace. And just to reiterate, as you can see, our students, I like to say our students are one of our best resources. And anytime, as to all of the admits, I fully encourage you to reach out to students. They are going to give you the insight that really speaks to what your life is going to be like. They are vibrant, they are exciting, they are aware, they're conscious. I just really love our students. So definitely utilize our students. Now I'd like to move on to our illustrious Cal Poly Proud alums. They share a unique experience as they've already graduated from Cal Poly. So they're going to speak to some of their experiences. I'm going to start with Nicole Smith.
There we go. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nicole.
Hey.
Just to let everyone know, Nicole is class of 2016 and received the BS degree in graphic communications.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name's Nicole Smith, and I'm actually a native Californian, but I now live in Austin, Texas. I moved out here in November and have been loving it ever since. Definitely a big change from California, but it's been great. I went to Cal Poly. I started in 2012 and graduated in 2016. A little bit about my Cal Poly experience is basically like my parents kind of encouraged me to apply to Cal Poly. I didn't know anything about it. I knew that some people I knew went there. But once I did some Google research, looked up some photos, I was like, yeah, I got to find out more about this place. I kind of landed in my major, graphic communication, at random. It's basically the art and science behind printing. And I was doing a lot of photography in high school. And I was like, oh, this is really cool because I don't want to be a photographer, but I also, I don't want to be a photographer, but I want to learn about some like business. I want to be in the world of art. And graphic communication really married all of that together. And so basically, my major has taken me to a lot of really interesting places. Again, I studied the art and science behind printing. So I took classes and laboratories geared towards packaging design, graphic design, but I also took classes in project management and in business and how you can be sustainable. And so it's really helped me develop just as an individual, as a now alumni. One of the learn by doing opportunities I took most advantage of was it was a on campus, and it still exists. It's an on campus business that's totally run by students. It's called University Graphic Systems. And basically 10 to 12 students will run a print shop where other students, and maybe Grace knows about this, being in architecture, but a lot of architecture students come in to get portfolios printed, or students need to get poster boards made, or they need to print out a report. And in that experience, I actually managed this group of 12 students who ran the shop, and we learned how to run a business together. We learned how to support each other, how to support our peers, how to actually use the machinery. And when I went my senior year to go and, start applying to jobs and figuring out like, what is my next step after I graduate, I had so much experience, because of that learn by doing opportunity. And I, was really fortunate that I found a great job with a printing company. It sounds really, maybe not, it's kind of random, we're in the 21st century, everything's like online, there's a lot of tech. But the printing industry is like a $2 billion+ industry. And so I kind of took a gamble and I was like, I'm just going to try this out. So I jumped into sales, and I was in sales for 3 years with a company that's basically, it was actually based in Vancouver, Canada. I worked out of the San Francisco Bay Area, and everything I learned at Cal Poly transferred directly over to what I did every day for those 3 years. I got to travel to Vancouver, Canada. Never thought that would be something that happened in my life. And I got to go once a month. So that was a really exciting time. Grace mentioned she was in a sorority. I too was in a sorority. I'm still really active with our alumni association. I was also a poly rep, so I also gave tours as well. I really just took advantage of all the amazing opportunities we had outside of the classroom. There's over 300 different clubs at Cal Poly, and I really think there's something for everyone. My university graphic systems really involved in that. I was involved with the, Cal Poly orientation programs. I was also a WOW leader. I'm still really close with my WOW leader and some of my WOWies. So it's been, Cal Poly was and continues to be one of the greatest experiences of my life. And if there's any kind of questions that you have directly about the College of Liberal Arts, or the the graphic communication degree, or about my time on Cal Poly, I'd be happy to answer any of those questions.
Great, thank you so much, Nicole. Now we're going to move on to two of our alums. So not only can you get a great education at Cal Poly, but you might also meet your partner. So I'm going to move on to Kyle and Leilani Struthers, class of 2011.
For the record, the whole like finding your partner thing was a complete accident. That was not the intent. No. It just happened that way. I guess I'm having a little bit of audience participation here. How many of you are still like trying to figure out between Cal Poly and another school? You can like wave your hand. A few of y'all, most of y'all, all of y'all, sweet. All right, so I actually came to Cal Poly from out of state. I went to high school in Arizona. So I was deciding between Cal Poly and in-state schools in Arizona and schools outside. One of them was Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana. I was an engineering major, so I had to decide, all right, well, let's look at the different engineering education opportunities. And, I was also looking at, well, what college is going to be the best one for me. So I guess what I'm going to share is just my thought process going in there and how it ended up. So I did look at Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana, great engineering school. When I went and visited, it was 6 degrees outside. And that was basically the end of that. But the good thing about Purdue is it was this traditional school in the Midwest. It had all of the sports, the traditional kind of like buildings, everything of like that traditional college experience. Looking at Cal Poly, we do have sports. Sports is very important to me, but I think we went to the big dance once for basketball. I went to a few football games, but as much as I love watching like Eastern South Dakota, it just wasn't there. That wasn't the reason that I went to Cal Poly. One of the biggest reasons I did is actually what you do outside of school is, I thought, just as important as what you do in school. So I also viewed the campus, which is a little tough right now, but it was great. It was by the beach, and I learned a lot about the different academic opportunities, the different things I can do on campus. And so I chose the beach. I chose Cal Poly, and it turned out to be okay. I actually moved, or when I went to Cal Poly, I knew one person from going out of state. So really kind of just showed up, had the week of welcome, was a Wowie, met a few people, and then got even more involved from there, joined a fraternity, met a few more people, and then just joined more and more clubs as time went on. Was a poly rep, just like a few other here, so I had to toss that in there. But part of the Biomedical Engineering Society, Society of Women Engineers, served on the board of directors, held down a part-time job from my sophomore year until my 5th year. I'd stayed for one extra. I did the 4+1. We got a bachelor's and master's in biomedical engineering in 5 years. And I loved every single moment. I mean, I learned to surf at Cal Poly. I met a cool roommate that I've lived with for a little while now. And it was just, it's got me a job before I graduated. Worked in healthcare for 5 years, and now I've been working at Under Armour, working on a connected shoe for a few years too. So it's definitely still semi-related to biomedical engineering. So definitely have to owe all my success to Cal Poly and the people I met in school and out of school. So yeah, that's my story there.
I guess I'll go next since I'm here. So I'm Kyle's roommate, Leilani. I'm actually a native Californian, and we've lived in Austin, Texas now for about 5 years. Relocated here, and we've been loving every minute. So I had a little bit of a different experience thinking about, where should I go? I knew that I was going to stay in state for my situation, but there's a lot of, the University of California school systems, other CSUs within California, trying to weigh my options. And what really stuck out to me was I knew I wanted to be in business. And so I wanted to go to a school that had a dedicated college of business, not just like a major called business economics, where that was the only thing you could choose from. So for me, the Orfalea College of Business was really what stood out to me, because they, at the time, had 9 different concentrations you could choose from, and also the opportunity that I had until my junior year to really figure out what it is that I wanted to concentrate in after going through a lot of the curriculum. So that was a big motivator for me to go to Cal Poly. And again, obviously the beautiful landscape of San Luis Obispo being by the beach. I also had a similar experience going for the first time to take a tour, and it was pouring rain. So that was kind of I don't know how this is going to work out, but I ended up going again to their open house, which I understand is really hard for everyone to go to, but that really was eye-opening because all of the different student life clubs and organizations and programs are out there kind of showcasing what it's going to be like when you're a student there. And I think that's really what pushed me over and said, okay, Cal Poly is the place for me. I can see myself here. looking at all the different ways to get involved. I also ended up joining a sorority in my second year. I was also a WOW orientation leader. One of my WOWies actually was one of my bridesmaids at her wedding when we got married in San Luis Obispo. So kind of full circle, you get to make these connections, and still really good friends with even people in my own freshman orientation group. And I also studied abroad in my third year, so my junior year. And the program there was pretty cool because we went to Spain, but it was all Cal Poly curriculum. So I actually came back from studying abroad for a quarter with 18 units. And that actually allowed me to move a lot faster than I anticipated in my business curriculum, but I didn't want to graduate early because I loved staying at Cal Poly. So I tacked on in my last year a Spanish and a French minor. So that was kind of a fun and interesting twist in my last year at Cal Poly. I also was involved in student government and worked on campus. There were a lot of different part-time jobs that were great for students. And I think everything was really manageable, but also enriching, right? The experiences that I learned both working on campus with different programs like clubs, Greek life, working on student government really set me up to find a job even before we graduated. So I was previously in management consulting right out of college and working in San Francisco, and now I work at Facebook in Austin. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Great. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I would like to introduce another alum. I'm sorry, not Nicole. We did Nicole. Tracy Hennigar, class of 90.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I hadn't tested my microphone because I can't.
Yes, I hear you perfectly.
Thank you. So I think I should win a prize for being the oldest because I kind of scrolled down and looked at everybody's camera shot. So I win. I wanted to say real quick to all of you admitted students that are here, I feel for you. I've got would have been a graduating senior at Cal Poly class of 2020. So this is tough for those of you that are in this situation. And by showing up today, you're looking to your future. And so I wanted to say well done to do that because I know this is tough. And I was 30 years ago is when I graduated from Cal Poly. So I got my Bachelor of Arts in, it was speech communication at the time. I think they call it communication studies now. So I'm kind of a double trouble here because I'm an alum and I'm a parent. So admitted students, if you've got parents lurking in your background and they have any questions about logistics and travel and how much rent costs and all that good stuff, I'll put my contact information in when we're done, and please feel free to shoot me any questions on that. We live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and have for 25 years. I am a California native. I grew up in Fresno, but have been here for 25 years. So I'm a Texan now. And I've been a residential real estate agent for about 8 years. And then prior to that, I have 20 plus years in sales and corporate training and development. Cal Poly was absolutely the best decision I ever made outside of marrying my husband. It has absolutely impacted every area of my life, both professionally and personally. Learn by doing was a thing back then, just as it is now. And as some of our other alum have said, it really kind of weaves into every part of your life. And what I got from Cal Poly during those 4 years there was an absolute ingrained idea to, if you have an idea, go do it. How can we support you when you have an idea? Maybe somebody hasn't done that before. How are we going to do that? And then they send you off to do it. One of the things that kind of played out, I think, most for me when I was there is learning how to work on teams and working how to collaboratively work with people in your major, in electives, and that transitions immediately when you get into the workplace. Being able to effectively problem solve not only for yourself, but with others who may not come at things in the same way that you do. It has been an absolute critical impact in the success that I've been able to enjoy in my career, in the way that I serve my communities. And that's something very unique. That's something certainly unique to Cal Poly. And so I applaud you. Congratulations. It's real hard to be sitting where you are and contemplating this decision. But 30 years later, it absolutely remains the best decision I ever made. So well done.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Again, thank you to all of our participants. This has been so useful, I think, for the students, and you are so appreciated. And also, too, I want to thank the guests for submitting questions. We have so many questions for all of you. Thank you so much. This is great. We probably have more questions than we're going to be able to answer in this particular Zoom meeting. But again, my information, you'll have my information, and you'll have some of our participants' information. So feel free to reach out to us. So I'm going to start shooting off some of these questions. Okay. Oh, so the first would be, and I'm gonna let's say, I'll just address it to any of you who feel comfortable answering it. Changing majors within engineering. The student wants to know, what is that process like? Is it easy to do? And will it extend graduation time beyond 4 years?
I'll jump in and take that one, if that's okay, Cox. So I do think changing majors is something that requires a lot of thought at Cal Poly, because one of the strengths of Cal Poly is the learn by doing experience. And learn by doing is most successful when we're managing the size of the classes and the hands-on experience for students. So students can change majors. You just have to really make sure you're giving it the right thought and developing a plan to change majors with your academic advisors in the major where you want to go. Our students can't change majors before they start, but they can begin the process right after the first week of classes at Cal Poly to make a change very early in the first year. And you can always have conversations with your academic advisor before you come to Cal Poly to talk about changing majors, so that first quarter set of classes is setting you up for success in where your desired major is, as well as the major that you have now, should you change your mind and decide not to change.
Great, thank you. Next question, could you talk a little bit more about the honors program and classes, and do honors students live in a separate community?
I can speak a little bit to this. So I have a lot of friends who are in the honors program, as well as my mentee within PolyReps. Savannah is a freshman currently, and she decided to live in the freshman dorms. You're going to have specific classes for honors students, and obviously like a GPA requirement, but there's also a lot of perks that come along with that. You get to work really heavily within the community with just giving back. Every single freshman is required to have a volunteer program set up for them, and have certain hours every single quarter, which is super cool. You also get to know people in the honors program pretty well, from what I understand. I chose to not be in the honors college at Cal Poly. Actually, I was offered it, but knew that in order for me to be in architecture and pursue all of the clubs that I wanted to be in, I wanted to pursue other things other than the honors college. But for my friends who are in the honors college, they absolutely love it and think it's been one of the best things at Cal Poly for them. But there's really cool classes specifically for those students, and you'll get pretty close, which is cool.
Perfect, thank you so much. Next question, how is Greek life? Is it difficult managing time?
We can take this one.
Perfect.
It's completely reasonable. For me, it was 100% worth it. Yeah, I mean, if anything, you make time for the things that are important for you. And for me personally, joining Greek life opened up a lot of other opportunities for me outside of Greek life. So people I met got me into PolyReps and all this other stuff. So I have a lot to thank for that. And I was able to get all my work done too. So definitely wasn't a problem.
Yeah, and I would say, to add to that, the Greek life at Cal Poly may not really be your traditional idea of what you think about. You know, we don't necessarily have a giant Greek row with huge houses. So there's pros and cons to that. I think for my experience, it was a pro because you could still get integrated in other areas on campus without feeling the pressures, of living with 50 other women in a sorority house. That said, we still had a lot of engagement and social events and things like that to get to know everyone. I actually didn't join till my second year because I was hesitant about, can I manage the time? What does this mean for me? But it ended up being a really great experience, not just for meeting new people, but I think also the way you can look at it is transforming it into an opportunity. I took a leadership position in my sorority and I put that on my resume. And I think that really helped academically and professionally as well to say, okay, I had a great time meeting all these women, but also opportunities to build up my leadership skills, something that I can take away beyond Cal Poly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Kenneth, can I speak to that something?
Yes,
I'm not so disclaimer. I was in a sorority way back in the day, but one thing that I think is important, especially for our students that are from the South, rush is no joke down in the South, right? It's a whole different animal down here. And one of the things to know that I think is great about Cal Poly in general is that it's great if you want to rush and be in a fraternity or sorority. It is equally great if you end up either not finding that a fit for you personally. There are so many other opportunities than a lot of our big universities down south here that they don't have, that if you don't want to rush or you find that it's not going to work for you, don't worry about that for 1 second. I know that girls especially are already starting to flip out about the sorority rush process. It is not like it is here. It's just much more reasonable and manageable. And so I just kind of wanted to throw that out here because it's something else down here, and it's not that at Cal Poly, which is great.
Yes, thank you for that, Tracy.
You bet.
And next question we have is, can you talk about your experience being so far from home? How often were you able to come home?
I can talk about that because I'm experiencing that right now. So being from Minnesota, I'm over 2,000 miles from home, which is kind of crazy. But my parents and I kind of had to sit down and discuss the extra added cost of transportation to and from college, because yeah, you're going to pay tuition, you're going to pay room and board, but those travel costs are something that can't necessarily be predicted. But I've been really lucky because we have a regional airport here, and the train is great. There's a great rideshare page. So there's really cheap opportunities to get back and forth from Minnesota. And I think it's probably every quarter that either my parents come here or I go home. I was actually planning on being home over spring break, and that just didn't happen. But I also saw my parents a month ago, so it's not that big of a deal. I do have a younger sister who loves coming out and visiting me all the time. And being close with my family is definitely something that I am so blessed with. And it makes it feel a lot closer to home when they're able to visit so regularly. Just because we're in between two cities doesn't mean that we're super far away from great transportation. It actually gives us more options. I choose to fly out of SFO because I have a ton of friends from Berkeley, and they can just take me to the airport if I need to. I have some friends in San Jose, and if I want to fly out of San Jose, I can do that too. We also have we were actually just talking about this before, that there's a direct flight to Dallas from our regional airport. So you're able to go to and from SLO really easily, and parents can come out too, which is super fun.
And Grace, while you're talking about that, can you also talk a little bit about what transportation is like on campus? And some of the students want to know whether or not they can bring a car.
Yeah, so freshmen can't have cars on campus, but that does not mean that you're just stuck on campus. We have a really great public transportation system, and you just can swipe your Poly card, which is kind of like your meal swipes. It can print for you. You can use that for a lot of different things on campus, including transportation. And downtown is one of my favorite places in SLO. There's so many great things down there, and even just the opportunity to take the bus down. I really never used public transportation actually until I got to college, and now I'm super comfortable with it. They have an app that you can track the buses. I have a lot of friends who use the bus system to get to and from campus every single day. I live off campus right now. I actually have a moped, a little scooter, which is super cool. And that's how I get around. We're a super bike friendly campus as well. A ton of my friends bike. It's so nice out all the time. You might as well be outside, get the exercise in, and also save the planet in the meantime. We have Slow Safe Ride. We have buses that can take you to the beach. We also have cars, zip cars. You like have a little card and you can charge for mileage if you want to go grocery shopping, or if you have a doctor's appointment or anything like that. Uber and Lyft are all over as well. So transportation on campus is super, super nice, actually. It's actually really nice too, because you don't have to have the pressure of having a car of like, oh, I have to move it. What if I get towed? What if I get a ticket? Then you're like, oh, it's super chill. I can just take the bus.
Thank you, Grace. We have another question about housing. Is there a website or app that Cal Poly students use to find their roommates or meet other incoming students?
I met mine on Facebook, and there's a like specific Facebook page for incoming students, just specifically for housing. They have like a Q&A that you can fill out too of like, I'm from here, this is my major, I like to read and watch movies, and this is my favorite type of music. So then you can get to know people that way. It's kind of like speed dating in all actuality, and that's how my roommate and I met. But you can also do random roommates, and that's actually some of the best roommate pairings I've ever seen have been random. So sometimes that works out really well too.
Keith, I'm going to direct this question to you. A student wants to know whether or not they can meet with an academic counselor before school starts.
Sure. Great question. So you're always available to reach out to the academic counselors in your college major or the advisors that we have for first-year students in our Mustang Success Center. I encourage students to visit the advising website, which is advising.calpoly.edu, and just follow the who's my advisor link, and it'll take you through a series of questions. You can reach out to those individuals, talk about all different ways to plan your courses, talk about ways you want to integrate internships or study abroad experiences. So you can start that 4-year map, or in some of our cases with some of our architecture and other programs, that 5-year map, to make sure that you're successful. They are available for you anytime. So please don't hesitate to reach out to them and let them know you're an admitted student.
Great, thank you so much. I have another question. It says more specifically, Mrs. Struthers, can you please talk about your experience at the Orfalea College of Business? Are there any unique academic opportunities? Is it possible to earn an MBA in 5 years? And what is the workload like?
Great. I'll kind of go a bit in reverse in terms of the workload. I would say it's very manageable, especially if you're taking any AP units, and those can transfer over. I won't necessarily speak to the guarantee, but that was my situation. I took a lot of AP units in high school, and that actually helped and transferred over for the business major curriculum, and helped it make it manageable. Whether or not you had that situation, I do think the business major is manageable to do, as well as getting involved with other different clubs and programs throughout student life. I would say
engineering's so much harder.
It's not engineering or architecture, is what I'll also say. But you are spending a lot of time outside of the class, spending time with your groups, right? So it's a lot of group and teamwork, whether it's for group projects or, for a senior project, for example, due to the Learn by Doing motto, it was actually going out to the community and engaging different community small businesses. And we were having to put together essentially like a family-friendly pre-homecoming football game type of event. And that was part of our senior project, which was organizing and putting together sort of a playbook. So from that perspective, you're not always going to be in the classroom, and this may not be just for a business major, but I found it to be very manageable and also practical. In terms of special programs, I didn't necessarily participate in any, but there are a lot of internships and I think resources that I appreciated coming out of the Orfalea College of Business, specifically, the Career Services Center, finding different opportunities that you could get engaged with Different business-centric clubs like Isaac, for example, would sometimes have like a work abroad program that I know a couple of friends were able to participate in. So there's something for everybody. They also had business major specific study abroad programs. So I'm not sure if that's going to answer your question regarding that. I actually don't know anybody who ended up going through the MBA program. I don't know if that's something for Keith or Kenneth to follow up on. But, you know, I think weighing your options about if you want to get some work experience first, which absolutely you'll probably have great chances of having a job right out of college as an undergrad, and then considering, do you want to do your MBA program after you have a few years of experience? So I'll leave it at that.
Keith, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
I would just say a lot of our students do choose to stay and participate in one of our graduate programs. We don't have a lot of graduate programs. I think one of the things that makes Cal Poly a really special place is out of our 21,000 students, really just over 20,000 of them are undergrad students. And so we're really distinctly focused on undergrads, but the grad programs that we do offer are really concentrated and really strong. And a lot of students do make the transition from moving right from their bachelor's, particularly in either one of our business programs or engineering programs, into a master's program. And that's possible, again, with consultation with your academic advisor early on.
Great, thank you. And Kyle, I'm going to direct this question to you, specifically related to engineering. A student wants to know, how flexible are engineering students' schedules? Are they able to look into minors and participate in many different activities? And how many hours are expected for studying homework for engineering majors?
All right, let's see. How flexible is the schedule? I mean, it's classes and labs. You kind of choose your class time and lab time when you do your enrollment. So it's really not that bad compared to a 40-hour work week. You have a lot of time in college comparatively. So it's definitely pretty flexible. I was really heavily involved in college. I think my schedule, I always tried to fill up every single living moment of it between work, outside clubs, and class and studying and all of that. So how many hours are you expected for engineering majors? Well, I think that's always something that you kind of figure out along the way. There will be a time where you don't study enough, and then you learn that you should have probably studied more. And you make that mistake once, and then you get better at it. So definitely spent a lot of time at the library working with several other of my engineering classmates, just kind of working through our homework, trying to get it done. You can ask, I mean, for Leilani, compared to a business major, she spent a lot more time in the library with me than she was used to. And for me, just trying to get by and passing my classes, she was just, acing all of her classes with the time I spent.
I got a 4.0 when we first started dating because it was always in the library or a lab.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a challenging curriculum. It paid off though. So.
Great, yeah. Thank you. The next question is, what student services are available in the dorms?
You want me to take that one?
Yes, please.
Sure. So a lot of services are offered for students in the residence halls and apartments. The Mustang Success Center, which is our general academic advisors, hold office hours in a lot of the residence halls and apartments. Our career counselors hold sessions in the residence halls and apartments. We teach classes in a lot of the spaces in the residence halls and apartments. So if you don't want to get too dressed up in the morning, you can, and you're fortunate enough, you can come right downstairs in your flannel pants and have a math class or something like that. We have our mental health counselors are available in the residence halls. So I think there's a lot of different opportunities for students to have the services where they live, as well as to be able to go out and engage those services in another place if they don't want to engage them in the residence halls.
Great, thank you. I'm going to ask this question to Grace because it's specifically related to the architecture program. The student wants to know, what makes Cal Poly's architecture program distinguishable from other programs? Is there a particular emphasis in this particular program?
So I kind of looked everywhere for architecture. I was really lucky. I've wanted to be an architect since I was like 8 years old. So very rare to know what I wanted to be when I grew up and still want to be. And so I was looking everywhere. I looked at Rice in Houston. I looked at Cornell, at Michigan, Notre Dame. The University of Minnesota has a great architecture program. Cal Poly was actually the only California school I looked at. And at the time that I was applying, it was the top public program in the nation. And we're still top 10, so I think we're doing pretty great. And that's because the criteria has changed a lot. I think the only part that we're lacking in is architectural theory. And so like learning about super abstract architectural thought is not necessarily something I know a ton about, but I know a lot about environmental impact. My minor is in sustainable environments within the College of Architecture and Environmental Design. We have a great construction management concentration as well. So you're learning about the entire building structure and like how to put up sheathing and what in the world is sheathing and what type of insulation do you want to put inside the walls. We have a really great balance between hand building, drawing, etc., and digital modeling. I'm currently enrolled in a digital fabrication class, or I was last quarter, which was super cool. I was able to purchase a 3D printer and learn how to design through Grasshopper and Rhino, and we're learning how to be great, mindful architects in the world. We're the smallest college. We're only 9% of the population at Cal Poly, but we're so great and mighty. We're pretty close-knit. I spend like 40 hours either in the classroom or in studio with the same 20 people. And they are not only the best at fostering great relationships, but the professors that I have within the College of Architecture and Environmental Design are some of the best people I've ever met. The majority of our professors at Cal Poly are practicing actively in the field. So a lot of my professors in architecture are practicing architects. So they're taking us to their job sites, which normally at a lot of other universities, you're not even learning about actual architecture until you're a third year. And even then you're like learning about architectural history, and that's super cool to learn about columns and all of that cool stuff. But I was learning about architectural history while I was working in the machine shop and getting my welding certification. So our upside down curriculum, where you're able to take general education classes and your major classes, applies to every single major, but especially within architecture, that's an opportunity that not a lot of other colleges can offer you. Plus, being a 5-year program, you get to be really immersed in architecture. And in all honesty, like the people that I've met don't necessarily want to be architects. I've met people who want to build cars, to be fashion designers, to even be professors, but we're learning all of those skills to do all of those things in a really cool way. So
great. Thank you so much, Grace. Now, we don't have time for all the questions, but again, feel free to reach out to me directly via email or via phone. If you don't get me, please leave a message and I will return the call. But I do want to end with another question in terms of our question and answer section. And this is our last question. And feel free, any of you, more than one can answer. What is it like going to college in a college town like SLO?
I could talk about it a little bit. So our central campus is about 160 acres. So that's a decent amount of land. My grandpa's a cattle farmer, so I only know acres because of him. But it's a pretty condensed area. It's not an urban campus, so we're not necessarily like mixed in with downtown or another area, but being in a town where you're half of the population doesn't necessarily mean that like where you go, you're gonna find a massive amount of college students. I live in a residential neighborhood actually, and the people next door give me eggs from their chickens, which are super nice. And then the people next door to me it's like an 80-year-old woman and her husband, and they're super cool. And getting to know them in a college town, like they chose to live here and we've just like been here for their entire existence. And talking with them about how Cal Poly's evolved has been super interesting. Living in a college town, like talking with my friends who go to super urban campuses or really small liberal arts colleges, we have a lot of resources within San Luis Obispo that a lot of other universities like don't necessarily have. We are super involved in the community. I always say that like I came for Cal Poly, but I've stayed for SLO, because you are not just a Cal Poly student here, you're a resident of the community, and everyone like truly believes that. I love this community, and living in a college town, it doesn't feel like a college town, if that makes sense. Like in normal college towns, my neighbors would be super annoyed with me all the time. Like, oh, you nasty kids, you're so loud. But they're super nice here. They love us, and they love having the youth and the vibrancy that we bring. So living in a college town is kind of different here, I'd say.
Great, thank you so much. I want to thank everyone, especially first I want to thank all of our participants today, our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and your time. And to all of our students and their families, thank you all so much. Again, we acknowledge this particular moment in our history, and we are with you. We want you to take care of yourself and your families. Before I go, I do want to go over a couple of things. I want to say that remember that our deadline is May 1st for notification to let us know whether or not you're going to attend Cal Poly. And our housing orientation registration deadline is May 7th. And also remember, any questions that you might have, please feel free to reach out to me. And also at this moment, I just want you all to remember, again, like I said, my heart is broken for all of our admits, because you're not getting the moment that you deserve. So even in the midst of this moment, celebrate your acceptance to Cal Poly in grand style. Thank you all so very much. Take care.